Hey little dreamers! Ready for a magical bedtime adventure? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a sleepy tale. Let's go! Once upon a time, high above the quiet fields and the whispering forests, the moon opened his eyes. The stars were already twinkling, the clouds were drifting lazily, and all the world below was fast asleep. But something was off. The moon blinked again. He squinted down at the lakes and rooftops below, expecting to see his silvery light stretching across the sleeping world. But the glow he usually cast, his glorious moonlit shimmer, was missing. Instead of shining proudly in the night sky, he looked like a pale button, a dim dinner plate, a glowless lump. He frowned. And if there's one thing the moon does better than anyone else, it's frown. His entire round face twisted downward like a wrinkled dumpling. His usual glow made him feel important, special, even necessary. Without it, he wasn't the moon. He was just a moon, lowercase m. He floated silently for a few moments, stewing in his own shadow, until a distant sound pricked his ears. It wasn't a comet. It wasn't the breeze brushing over the sky. It was laughter. Sparkling, bubbling, musical laughter. Star laughter. The moon twisted himself around with a slight wobble. And there it was, far off at the edge of the galaxy's sleepiest arm, a glow. Not just any glow. A glittering, giggling glitter bomb of light. The stars were having a party. Without him, the moon's frown grew even longer. Parties were rare in the sky. Stars mostly blinked quietly, waved politely, or whispered poems to the wind. But this was a full-on celebration. Garlands of light hung between constellations. Nebulae hummed like harps. Shooting stars cartwheeled past. And not a single spark had come to fetch him. The moon folded his arms. Well, metaphorically. He didn't have arms, but if he did, they'd be crossed so tightly you could squeeze coal into diamonds. He muttered to himself, loudly, because when you're ignored and dim, muttering dramatically is a must. I see how it is, he huffed to a passing cloud. Moon goes dim for one night, and suddenly no one remembers he exists. After all the tides I've pulled, after all the dreams I've glowed upon, humph. The cloud floated away as quickly as it could. No one likes getting caught in a lunar rant. Still grumbling, the moon tilted himself ever so slightly toward the sparkling scene in the distance. He didn't like feeling left out. He didn't like feeling unimportant. And he especially didn't like it when stars had more sparkle than him. But mostly he was just curious. Something was going on. And if he had to drift halfway across the sky to find out what, so be it. He slowly nudged himself out of orbit and began his gentle glide toward the misbehaving stars, with a grump so grand it practically echoed through space. The moon drifted in the silence of space, sulking. He didn't glide with his usual grace tonight. No, tonight he trudged. Or at least he tried to trudge. It's rather hard to stomp when you're floating, but the moon did his very best, tilting ever so slightly downward with each push, as though that might make his movements seem more annoyed. All around him, the stars blinked innocently. Too innocently. In fact, if you've ever seen someone look deliberately not guilty, then you'd understand exactly how the stars behaved that night. They twinkled a little too cheerfully. Their sparkle was just a little too extra. The moon narrowed his eyes. What are they hiding? He muttered. Off in the distance, the laughter bubbled again. This time it was unmistakable, tinkling like tiny silver bells tossed into the wind. There was music too. The gentle strum of cosmic strings, accompanied by the swoosh of passing meteors like party poppers. The moon floated a bit closer, trying to stay grumpy but already feeling his curiosity swell. He spotted 3 stars dancing in a loop-de-loop, their arms linked like glowing ribbons. Others spun in pairs, leaving trails of shimmering dust as they whirled. In the middle of it all was what could only be described as a galactic disco ball, a sparkly little asteroid bedazzled in borrowed light, spinning slow and steady to cast ripples of brilliance across the sky. Oh, so this is what they're doing instead of saying hello to their oldest, glowiest friend, the moon huffed, raising one metaphorical eyebrow. A party. Without me. A particularly tiny star zipped past him, giggling madly. She didn't even notice the moon floating nearby, too caught up in her spiral of starlight confetti. This, more than anything else, wounded the moon's pride. He was supposed to be the grand lantern of the night. He was supposed to matter. He looked down at the earth below. Shadows seemed thicker without his usual beam. Lakes were dark, rooftops dull, dreams possibly a little dimmer. He frowned deeper. Well, somebody has to notice, he muttered. Still the laughter echoed, and not a single star had come over to check on him. The moon turned slowly. His round face crumpled in a look that mixed sadness with mild outrage. So that's how it is. You get a little dull, and suddenly the stars forget who's been holding the sky up every night since time began. In truth, the moon knew he was being a bit dramatic. But when you're feeling ignored and underglowed, sometimes a little drama helps you feel better. Or at least it gives you something to do while floating. He peered again toward the starlight bash. Now he could see the outlines of figures dancing. Tiny glowing beings with long limbs, flowing robes, and light streaming from their fingertips. Someone had even slung garlands of shooting stars between 2 constellations. It was absolutely, positively, undeniably a party. And the moon was not invited. He puffed up his cheeks in indignation and decided right then and there that he would find out what was going on, even if he had to float through every twinkle of the sky to do it. The moon, in all his puffed-up, pale-faced glory, began his slow, deliberate journey across the night. It wasn't exactly a march, again. It's tricky to stomp when you're a floating sphere, but he gave it a fair try. He dipped a little with every motion, as if scowling downward might increase the weight of his mood. He drifted past the constellations he usually waved to. Tonight he offered them no smile. The Big Dipper, always a friendly face, flickered awkwardly and tried to say hello with a quick sparkle. The moon turned his face the other way. "Humph," he grunted. "Should have invited me." As he floated on, a little shooting star zipped past, trailing sparkles and stardust like a comet wearing a party hat. It gave a little twirl mid-air and shouted, "Wee!" as it whizzed by. The moon's eyes followed it. "Oh, so now even the comets are having fun," he grumbled. "Must be nice to be bright and fast and included." The shooting star didn't notice him. Or if it did, it was too wrapped up in the thrill of its glittering trail to care. It zipped off into the blackness, leaving behind a flickering ribbon of gold. The moon took a deep breath. Well, as deep as a breathless celestial body could. No respect for tradition. That's the problem. One quiet night and everyone forgets the moon. A puff of cloud floated toward him. Small, soft, shaped vaguely like a sheep. It looked up at him with wide, misty eyes. "Good evening," the cloud said gently. "You're drifting low tonight. Everything all right?" The moon squinted at the cloud. "I am gliding with purpose, thank you very much. Not that it's anyone's business." "Oh," said the cloud, bobbing politely. "You just looked, well, a little dim. A little, stormy." The moon let out a theatrical sigh. "Of course I'm dim. It's not like anyone needs my light. They've got parties now. Sparkly parties. Without me. The cloud blinked. Oh, that sounds rude. It is rude, the moon declared. I light up the oceans. I inspire wolves and poets. I wax and wane like a professional. And tonight, nothing. Nada. Zilch. Not even a "Hey moon, want some cake?" The cloud, clearly unsure what to say, drifted quietly away. Hope your night improves, it whispered as it vanished into mist. The moon, now thoroughly warmed up in his frustration, glanced downward again. Below, the planet slept on. Fields lay in shadow. Oceans shimmered weakly. One little house had its lights still on. A child's room, maybe. But the moon was too cross to admire it. No, his focus was fixed firmly ahead, where the sparkles continued to dance and rise. He could hear the laughter even more clearly now. High-pitched and full of stardust, like bells soaked in honey. Every now and then, a cheer rang out, or a flash of light painted ribbons across the heavens. Closer. He was getting closer. He furrowed his glowing brows, aimed his path straight into the heart of the sparkle, and floated onward, a little faster now. If the stars had answers, he'd be getting them, whether they liked it or not. By the time the moon arrived at the glittering heart of the celebration, he was at peak grump. His glow was still faint, but his expression burned with full lunar outrage. He hovered just above the dance of lights and festivities, watching the star sprites twirl and spin in joyful loops. Confetti made of cosmic dust swirled through space like shimmering pollen. Shooting stars whizzed between garlands of light, and constellations shimmered like chandeliers. It was too much happiness, the moon decided. He cleared his non-existent throat with a theatrical ahem. Nothing. He drifted lower. Ahem, he said louder, eyebrows furrowed into craters of displeasure. A few stars paused mid-spin. One tripped over a comet streamer. Another dropped a miniature cupcake made of plasma and gas. The music stuttered. Laughter faded. The party slowly quieted, like someone had dimmed the entire sky. And there, in the middle of it all, hovered the moon, round, silver, and positively thunderous. "Excuse me," he said, voice echoing with just the right level of dignified doom. "I couldn't help but notice you were throwing the sparkliest party in history, and failed to invite the one celestial body with actual experience in being brilliant." The stars blinked. The littlest ones shuffled behind the bigger ones. A comet tried to slink away and was caught by the tail. "I see decorations," the moon continued, circling slowly like a storm cloud with opinions. "I see streamers. I see cupcakes. I see dancing. And yet no moonlight. No invitation. Not even a 'sorry you're a little dim tonight. Hope you feel better soon.'" The oldest star, a golden figure with gentle eyes and hair that flowed like solar flares, stepped forward. "Moon," she said kindly, "it's not what you think." "Oh, it never is," the moon replied, puffing up even rounder. "It's never what I think, and yet here I am, dim as a shadow, floating like forgotten furniture while you borrow half the galaxy for your glitter." The stars began to whisper among themselves, some nervously twiddling their glowy fingers, others biting their sparkly lips. The little ones clutched star wands behind their backs. The golden star raised her voice gently. "You're right," she said. "We didn't invite you. And we should have. But we didn't forget you." The moon's frown deepened. She continued, "We borrowed a little of your light." There was a collective gasp from the younger stars. One fell backward into a cloud puff in embarrassment. "You what?" said the moon. "We needed extra shimmer," she said softly. "Just for tonight." The moon stared. You took my glow. Borrowed, she repeated. To make something special. He crossed his imaginary arms. Special for whom? The golden star glanced upward, and the other stars slowly followed suit, their gazes drifting toward a soft, flickering spot in the sky. The moon turned to follow their gaze. And far below, a tiny glow peeked through the clouds, a child's window. A soft, flickering nightlight. A birthday candle. And something else. A wish rising through the sky like a whisper wrapped in hope. The moon stared down at the earth, his frown momentarily forgotten. That soft flicker, so small, so warm, glowed from a little window nestled in a quiet neighborhood. A child's bedroom, barely visible through a patch of drifting cloud. And just outside that window, the moon could see something he hadn't noticed in his grumpiness. A tiny hand resting on the windowsill. A girl's hand. And next to it a candle. Its flame was barely a whisper, but it danced with the same rhythm as the starlight above. She made a wish, the golden star said softly, drifting beside him now. The moon didn't respond. A lonely little girl, she continued. She's new in town. No friends yet. No party. Her parents tried, but you know how some days just feel empty even when someone cares. The moon squinted closer. Inside the room, the girl sat on her bed, her face turned to the sky. Her hair was tied in little buns, and in her lap sat a plush toy, round, soft, and unmistakably moon-shaped. She hugged it close, her eyes big and wondering. She wished for the sky to sparkle, the golden star said. Just for her birthday. Just this once. Something special. Something magical. And we didn't want to disappoint her. The moon blinked. Loli. You took my light, he said, not quite as sharp this time. We borrowed it, the star said again gently. Only a little. Just enough to add shimmer to the party. To make it feel like a celebration, even if it was only witnessed by one. The moon said nothing. He looked back at the sky. The stars, still paused, watched him with wide, hopeful eyes. One of the littlest ones sniffled. Another clutched a streamer and mumbled. It was for the girl. She loves you, you know, the golden star added. She said your name when she made her wish. I hope the moon sees me, she whispered. I hope he smiles. The moon turned back toward the stars. His face was unreadable, round and glowing faintly. He floated there in the hush of the sky. Then, finally, he puffed out a long, slow sigh that stirred the nearby cloud puffs. Well, he said, adjusting his expression to the grumpiest version of reluctant understanding. She's lucky I'm so generous. A collective breath rippled through the stars. Don't get any ideas, the moon added quickly. I'm still annoyed. Very annoyed. Uninvited. Borrowed without permission. That's at least 3 offenses. Of course, said the golden star, clearly hiding a smile. Terrible behavior on our part. Outrageous, the moon agreed. And don't think I'll forget. But, she prompted gently. But, the moon grumbled. I suppose. Just this once if it made her feel less alone. He trailed off. Then perhaps it was worth the sparkle. There was a soft cheer among the stars, but it was quiet, respectful. A celebration wrapped in relief. The moon glanced down again. The girl had closed her eyes now, her candle flickering down to a tiny, final glow. And for a moment, just a moment, the moon let himself smile. Barely. The moon hovered in thoughtful silence. His usual barrage of complaints temporarily stalled by the warmth he felt deep inside his soft silver center. He was still dim, yes. Still uninvited, yes. But now, he understood. and that made it harder to stay properly, dramatically angry. The golden star waited patiently beside him, her hands folded, her glow respectful and kind. "I'm still not entirely pleased," the moon muttered at last, attempting to recover his grump. "Taking my glow without asking. Deeply improper. Probably illegal. Celestially rude." "We agree," she said with a gentle nod. "I should file a complaint with the Galactic Council of Luminaries." "You absolutely should." The moon narrowed his eyes at her calm tone. "You're humoring me. Only a little." He puffed out his cheeks again, but it didn't carry the same weight. Some of the stars had begun to drift back toward the party space, but they moved slower now, their sparkle muted, waiting for a signal. The moon sighed. Less a complaint this time and more a long, star-warmed breath. "Did she really say she hoped I would smile?" "She did," the golden star replied softly. "Right after she blew out her candle." The moon turned to glance down again. The girl had fallen asleep, curled up around her plush moon toy. Her little face was peaceful, the window still aglow with soft birthday light. "She thinks I'm special," he said, mostly to himself. "You are." "I know I am," he snapped, trying to re-armor his pride, though his voice cracked in the middle like a gently splitting cloud. "It's just nice to be reminded." There was a pause. The stars waited, motionless in the dark, glowing only faintly now, just enough to see one another. All eyes were on him. The moon turned to them at last. "Well," he muttered, "if the glow was borrowed for a child's birthday wish, and if it did make her feel like the sky was hers for a night, then I suppose I could tolerate a bit of sparkle theft." Several stars blinked brighter in hope. "But don't get used to it." Few giggles broke out. The little star who had tripped over the cupcake earlier squeaked with joy. "I'm still the moon," he added sternly. "The big one. The centerpiece. The chandelier of midnight." The golden star bowed slightly. "Always." The moon gave a slow, theatrical nod. "Very well. You may continue your celebration. But tone it down. Keep your glitter in your galaxies. And for heaven's sake, someone bring me a cupcake." And just like that, the stars lit up. The music, gentler now, returned. The laughter resumed in softened tones, more grateful than giddy. And one bright star fluttered off to retrieve a floating little cake made of ice and sugar starlight, which it floated ceremoniously toward the moon. He accepted it with a delicate frown. "Too much frosting," he said. Then after a beat, "But not bad." With the cupcake delicately balanced in the curve of his frown, the moon allowed himself a single very quiet humph, which in moonspeak meant, "Fine, I guess this is acceptable." He nibbled the edge of the glittery treat with invisible teeth and muttered, "Too sparkly." Crumbs everywhere, even though there were no crumbs and no teeth. Below him, the stars dared to sparkle a little more brightly. A few brave ones started to sway back into their dancing orbits, looping through streamers and rekindling the gentle music of the spheres. It wasn't quite as loud or wild as before. This time, there was a hush of reverence to it, a new harmony that hadn't been there earlier. And now, a silver light began to return to the sky. Not a blazing moonbeam, but a soft shimmer, like powdered moonlight stirred into velvet. One of the younger stars leaned toward the golden one and whispered, "Is he glowing again?" The golden star smiled. "A little. But it's different now. It's not just his light anymore." Indeed, as the moon floated near the heart of the party, his glow began to pulse. Slowly, softly. Not with ego but with something warmer. Gratitude, maybe. Or the cozy feeling you get when you realize someone thought of you, even when you weren't looking. The stars, sensing his softening, gathered together. One by one, they lifted their palms and released tiny sparks of light, fragments they had borrowed from him. Bits of silver, pale as frost, drifted back toward the moon. They hovered around him like butterflies made of light, folding gently into his round belly. He watched them swirl, watched the shimmer rebuild. But instead of snapping it all back in, he did something curious. He let some of it go. Instead of absorbing every flicker, he allowed a faint halo to remain, a gentle shimmer that stretched between him and the stars like threads of friendship. He left a little glow behind like breadcrumbs in the sky. "You forgot a few," one of the stars said. "No," the moon replied, voice low and sleepy. "I left them." They all paused. "For her," he added, glancing toward Earth. A hush passed over the celebration, and the stars dipped in quiet acknowledgement. "You're changing," the golden star murmured. "I'm adapting," the moon replied. "But I'm still grumpy about it." "You're glowing," she said. The moon rolled his eyes. "Barely." The wind between the galaxies whispered like silk. The moon began to drift in slow circles now, not toward Earth, not away from the stars, but in between. A new path, a new orbit, gliding through his own light and theirs, casting soft beams wherever he passed. The stars resumed their party with quieter joy, dancing not just around him but with him, leaving spark trails that flickered in moon silver instead of gold. For the first time all night, the moon didn't mutter. He didn't grumble. He just floated, faintly glowing and almost smiling. The party shifted. It wasn't louder or brighter than before. If anything, it had softened, as though the celebration itself was now breathing in rhythm with the moon's mellow glow. The stars no longer danced to impress or to dazzle. They moved with purpose, like petals floating on a breeze. A quiet gratitude filled the sky. The moon hovered at the center of it all, pretending not to be the center of attention. He tilted slightly away whenever someone complimented his new glow. He cleared his throat dramatically when anyone said he looked happy. He even sighed in mock exhaustion when they called it the most beautiful moonlight in memory. But his cheeks, they were just the tiniest bit rounder and warmer. "Of course," he said to no one in particular. "If I hadn't allowed a fraction of my glow to remain behind, you'd all still be bumbling about in shadow." The stars nodded solemnly, as if he were delivering wisdom from the ancient vaults of space. One particularly eager star even offered him a garland made of comets and stardust. The moon inspected it. Acceptable." Then he paused. "Where's the cake?" A ripple of excitement passed through the heavens. From behind a wispy moon cloud, two stars emerged, floating a round, shimmering object between them. It glowed softly, layered with rings of Saturn dust icing and a cherry-like meteorite perched on top. Written across the frosting in glowing stardust letters were the words, "Thank you, Moon." The moon blinked. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Well, that's new." The stars gathered around him as he inspected the gift. One piped up cheerfully, "We wanted to say thanks, not just for the light, but for letting us use a little of it." "For her," another chimed in. "And for pretending to still be mad even though you clearly liked the cupcake." A third added, "And for staying. You didn't have to." The moon, flustered in the only way a celestial body can be, spun slowly in place. "Well, I don't make a big thing of it. I'm still undecided. You're all very sparkly. It's quite overwhelming. And the icing is extremely shiny." The golden star stepped forward again. "We were thinking," she said, "maybe we could make this an annual tradition?" The moon raised an eyebrow. "An annual sparkle theft?" No, she laughed. An annual party. For you. Thank you, moon celebration. Each year on this night. The moon paused, his surface pulsing with a slow silver blush. With cake? He asked quietly. With cake, she confirmed. He floated for a moment in thoughtful silence, then gave the tiniest shrug. I suppose if it's officially sanctioned and includes refreshments, then I might allow it. Cheers rose into the heavens, not loud but warm like fireworks wrapped in feathers. The stars began arranging new garlands, forming spirals of light around the moon, who very sternly did not grin, not even a little. But he did say, better make sure next year's cake is double layered. And so it began. The very first official thank you moon party sparkled gently into history. The stars, now fully in celebratory mode, but still respectfully toned down, wove light streamers made of auroras. They draped glowing garlands between constellations and passed around soft, fluffy meteor muffins and comet candies. There was a slow dance of star pairs twirling in the shape of galaxies, and a quiet starglow orchestra playing gentle, dreamy tunes made of vibrations and moonbeam chords. At the center of it all, the moon floated proudly, not spinning, not sulking, just floating, occasionally puffing out his cheeks for dramatic effect, but mostly enjoying the view. I see you've upgraded the lighting, he commented to a passing nebula, who gave a giggle and a bow. Another star floated by and carefully adjusted the moon's garland crown, woven from shimmering star petals and comet tails. The moon wore it like a monarch might wear a tilted birthday hat, with a mix of reluctance and secret glee. Far below, the earth was quiet. Children slept peacefully, unaware that the sky above them was celebrating the grumpiest glow they'd ever known. The girl, the one who had made the wish, still slumbered with her plush moon curled in her arms. But her dreams were brighter now. Somewhere deep in that sleepy haze she smiled. And the moon. He allowed himself to glance downward. He'd always known he was important. But now he felt something different. Not just seen but appreciated. Not just bright but beloved. The stars floated closer. We were thinking, one said shyly, that next year we could add music from Saturn's rings? And sparkly stardust ice cream, added another. And moon-shaped balloons, said a third. The moon sighed loudly. You're going to make a spectacle of me. The golden star smiled. Only if you pretend not to like it. I will, he said. They nodded. We know. And that night, for the first time in forever, the moon didn't worry about being left out, or being too dim, or too grumpy. He simply floated in a sky full of warmth, surrounded by friends who knew how to tease, how to sparkle, and how to say thank you without making a big fuss. Well, without making too big a fuss. He cleared his throat. All right, he said. One dance. Years. And so the moon danced. Slowly, swaying in wide, circular arcs, with silver trails whispering behind him. The stars danced beside him, around him, through him. The sky itself seemed to spin in gentle delight. And if the moon happened to be smiling, just a little, just at the corner of his big round face, well, no one said a word. But every star noticed. The sky began to dim, not from sadness but from peace. The stars, having danced and giggled and sparkled to their heart's content, began to settle into their usual places. They tucked away their streamers and garlands, folded their party napkins made of comet tails, and floated back into their constellations like children crawling under blankets. The music faded too, not with a final note, but with a soft echo, like the memory of a lullaby drifting through a window just before dawn. And the moon. He took one last slow spin, his silver face now fully restored, glowing in a way that was no longer proud, but quietly radiant. The borrowed sparkles, the shared shimmer, the girl's birthday wish. They had left something behind. Not just on the stars, not just on the night, but inside the moon himself. He floated to the edge of the sky, where the stars could barely reach and the earth looked like a dream in the distance. There he paused, not to sulk, not to pout, just to watch. He looked down at the rooftops and treetops and sleeping cities, at rivers wrapped in shadow and mountaintops tucked beneath mist. He saw the girl's window, now dark, and the small silhouette of a moon-shaped plush still nestled in her arms. He glowed a little brighter. Each year, from that night forward, the stars would throw a party. They called it the Thank You Moon Night. It wasn't loud. It wasn't wild. It was soft and secret and full of quiet joy. The moon always pretended not to know it was coming. He always acted surprised. He always complained about the glitter. But he always showed up. And he always danced, slow and sleepy, swaying in his silver way, leaving trails of light that wove between the constellations like ribbons made of dreams. The stars, now older, would tell the younger ones. He used to be so grumpy, you know, refused to smile. The younger ones would gasp. He still pretends to be. And everyone would look up at the sky where the moon would be floating, just slightly off-center, pretending not to hear, pretending not to glow just a little more. And far below, on that special night, one little girl, now a little older, would look out her window, clutching a very worn plush moon, and whisper to the sky, "Happy Thank You Moon Night." And the moon, halfway through his slow sky dance, would pause, just a moment, and nod. Just once, then continue on. Still the moon, still a little grumpy, but never ever forgotten. And now the stars are quiet again. Their sparkle settled into soft breaths across the sky. The moon is still up there, of course, round and gentle, floating just above your dreams. He's calmer now, little warmer, little wiser, still pretending to pout but glowing like a secret. That's how the best glows work after all. Not too loud, not too bright. Just enough to keep the night soft and still. The girl sleeps peacefully. The stars hum lullabies in tones no one hears except the breeze. And the breeze carries those sleepy songs to the tips of treetops, through open windows, across pillows, and into your own quiet thoughts. If you look out your window, maybe you'll see him. A silver face, floating high, still watching. Still remembering your birthday wish. Still shining a little just for you. And maybe you'll smile. Or whisper good night. And maybe, just maybe, he'll smile back. Only a little. But that's more than enough. So rest now. The sky is keeping watch. The moon has found his glow. And the night is full of thank yous, tucked inside dreams. Sleep well, little stargazer. Good night.